Hey guys, and welcome to the next process video in my Documenting December series. I am so happy to be narrating this video for you, and the video will start very shortly, but I just wanted to say that this video is very special because I was able to finish it all last night before I went to bed. So today is the 31st, so I was able to finish the main part of my December documented by December 30th, by the night of December 30th. And I feel like this is a really great accomplishment for me because I wasn't able to do it at all last year. And also because if I didn't do another thing after last night, this project would have been pretty much complete. Like I captured everything that I wanted to capture by the end of the night last night. And so this morning I came down and I did some details. So there is another process video, but this is the last of the majority of the content. So in this video, I'm going to fill in that card. And I like to just show you guys at the beginning where I'm at with the project before I get started. And I'm also going to fill in that card. And all of these other cards, and I have to fill in those, all of these other cards were completed in the previous episodes of this series. So I will make a playlist and include a link to that playlist in a card as well as in the information section below. So I just have this acetate in my stash, and I think it is an Allison Kreft acetate, and I just can't get my office my office hole punch to punch the holes. And my Crocodile here will punch these holes really, really nicely, but they won't be big enough. So I'm actually punching 3 Crocodile holes overlapping one another to make like one bigger hole for each of those 4 holes that I punched, if that makes any sense. Now, this Joy, a piece of acrylic, was from last year's Hip Kit Club December documented kit. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I didn't complete at all December daily last year, or documenting December, or whatever you want to call it. And so I did have some supplies left over from the kit from last year, including this really beautiful acrylic piece. So I decided to use my Stampin' Up! Glue pen to glue that onto the acetate and just have that be a little insert in my book. And so I'm just going to put it right here. I think it makes a nice little pretty piece to flip between some of the pages. And so now I'm just having a second look. I do flip through my book a lot as I'm creating it, and I've mentioned this in other videos. I do that in order to kind of inspire myself to keep on going, because it really does feel good to have all these pages come together. So I do like looking at them. Now, up until this point, I had been printing as I went, which meant I would decide on a story, print up the photos, and then make the card or the page of cards for that story. Now, at this point, before I got started, I thought about what else do I have to document just in order to get this done. And so I have these little piles of photos that I printed up. Most of them are 2x2, but any screenshots from most of the screenshots are things that I took from my daughter's social media. Those screenshots are printed at 2 by, or I think it's like 1.8 by 2.6 or 3.6. I can't remember. I just fiddled around with the settings until it was going to print the whole screenshot and still fit in a 4x6 or 3x4 pocket. So I took that 4x6 card that I just cut from the pattern paper that came in the kit. And now what I'd like to do is add something to the black space at the bottom of this screen cap. And the cut-aparts that came with this kit are really beautiful, and I've been using them all throughout the kit, all throughout the project. And so I just thought I would cut this M. It says M and then Merry and Bright, and then a little serial number on the side of it, and it has a little space for a tiny amount of journaling, kind of like a caption. So I'm just writing here, Youth Group Christmas Party at Shawne's Church. I would put the church name, but I actually don't know the name of the church that she goes to. My daughter's been going to this youth group every week since school started, and we're really pleased about that. It's a nice way for her to spend her time. They talk about charity, and I don't know exactly. I always ask her what they talk about, and I'm always pleased with with what it is. Then this next screen cap is Mac's Christmas party. Mac is my daughter's longtime friend, one of her very best friends. Although we try to not use the terminology of best friend, she has a very large group of friends, all of which are her best friends. she's got quite a tight group. So I'm taking some of these pleather stickers that I stole from the scrapbooking main kit and the embellishment kit this month. So as I was documenting, I primarily drew from the December documented kit. But once I got midway through the last session of scrapbooking with this kit, I started to draw in some stuff from my stash, including this red card here that I'm covering up the word December. This red card, it's like a beautiful tomatoey red that coordinates quite nicely with the other reds in the kit. It's from Kelly Perky, from her November kit. And so I took a piece of that. That is my absolute favorite pattern paper that came in the documented kit, the December documented kit from the Hip Kit Club. And so I ran that as a strip across the card. This is another screen cap of my daughter with her friends. And I just wanted to document that as well. It was just, they're all wearing Christmas like Santa hats, and it was taken at her school's entrepreneur fair. And so I've added some puffy stickers, and I just cut down a Becky Higgins grid card, and I'm going to do my journaling on that. And I'm leaving all the things on, whenever I do a screen cap, I'm leaving like Instagram and the comments and likes and all that sort of thing on my screen caps because it provides a little bit of context for this project. This is a pleather sticker that says "'Tis the Season," and then I also tucked a little die cut piece in there that's a Christmas ornament that says "Hearts Filled with Joy." And my journaling says, "Liv is so focused on friends these days. It's amazing to see her growing into a tween." I'm still hesitant to use the word teen about my own daughter. She's still only 12, so she's a tween. This was from the entrepreneur fair at school. And so I'm adding a couple of stars here. I want to bring some green into this page, so I took a pleather star that was green. It was the only thing I had at the time. And then I also added a little puffy red star as well. I forgot to glue that die cut down. I just tucked it in. So now I filled the gaps in this book, except for these two. These two 4x6 cards are going to be for Christmas Day. So this will be the presents that we opened, which I don't usually take pictures of the presents, but I'm not sure why I didn't want to do this before. Oh, actually, I did this in the wrong order. So I am putting my work party here, even though I had intended to put Christmas Day on the other side of Christmas Eve. So this project is not in order, not in chronological order. I have put the days on the cards where dates matter. I've put the dates, but it's not in chronological order. However, I want from Christmas Eve onward to be in chronological order. So prior to Christmas Eve, it's just a random collection of Christmas memories in a various orders. And then from Christmas Eve on, I really do want it to be in order. So I'm putting this in the wrong place, but thank goodness they're on cards anyway, so you can always rearrange them. So this is another piece of pattern paper from the 2016 December documented kit from the Hip Kit Club. And I thought that at the time I'm composing it to coordinate with that pocket beside it, which has those teals in it. And so it's not going to stay there, so that doesn't really matter anymore, but I still really like this teal color, and it does show up in the 2017 kit also. So these are 3 photos from my work Christmas party, and it's not an evening event, it's an afternoon event. It's more of kind of like a morale building, have fun together kind of event. So it's not like a family event where you bring your partner and your kids or anything. It's just us folks who work in our office hanging out together, eating yummy food and playing games. So it's really fun. So I am just putting this photo with the group picture. I wish that we had a picture of all of us. This is the picture that my boss took, so she's not in it, but I am. And then the other picture that I have, I took. And so the other pictures that I have, I took. And so I'm not in them. So, but my boss is in some of the other pictures. So it's okay. I do have her documented in here. So now I'm just taking Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesive to pop up this. It says Making Spirits Bright at the top. And that's what we like to think our business is making spirits bright year long, or trying to at least make spirits brighter. And so I thought that this was really relevant to the work we do, but also really relevant to the spirit of the day. I really love that lime green tag that says 2017, and it's pleather. And I was so happy to get that on this page because I adore the color of it. So I messy outlined the photo. I seem to be doing that on this. And what I'm going to do at the end is go back and make sure that all of the photos are messy outlined, scribbly outlined. It just gives the photos so much more presence on the page. I really like how it looks. It's so much easier than matting all of your photos on a black cardstock. And it gives this kind of whimsical, playful look as well. So there was a lot of wall in that photo. So I covered it up with this die cut that says, it's very fancy, and it says a few of my favorite things. And so I'm going to list some of the things that we did at the party that are my favorite things. So yummy food, crafts, games, wonderful colleagues. And then I had this space and I put check marks on them all, like check, check, check. And then I had this space and I couldn't think of what else to put. And I wanted to say like chatting, or like the word that kept coming to mind was fellowship, but I think that that has a real religious tone to it, and we weren't talking at all about that kind of stuff. And nor is that really a word that I would ever use, but I wanted kind of like the secular version of fellowship. I guess you could use fellowship that way, but it just didn't seem genuine for me to use it that way. So I said chit chat and stories. So that's what I came up with, which I think is cute. So there we go. I have those pages, those cards in the absolute wrong pockets, but I will figure that out eventually. So I decided to messy outline this photo as well, which is the Cuba trip image. And now I'm realizing, wait a minute, those are in the wrong place, or at least I'm going to notice soon. So now I'm going to also messy outline this image just to make it look more like it belongs. This one keeps standing out as not really belonging. Like that photo looks kind of funny on that page. So I thought outlining it might help it feel like it belongs a little bit better. And this is the point at which I'm realizing, wait a minute, that's where my Christmas Eve photos were supposed to go, or Christmas Day photos. And so I'm looking at my Christmas Day photos, and we don't typically take pictures of presents because, I mean, up until now, presents have been pretty generic. Like they wanted, Legos or I don't know, like whatever the hot toy was that year. And I don't know, I guess it's cool to capture what the hot toy is. We certainly did document a lot of when the girls were really into something like American Girl dolls. We did take lots of pictures of their dolls because they were really important to them. But for the most part, like whether it's Legos or like I didn't really feel the need to capture and take pictures of the presents that they were getting every year. But this year, I wanted to take pictures for two reasons. First of all, the things that they're asking for now are a lot more reflective of their personalities because they're older. And so Sophie, for example, only wanted Roots bum pants. Like that's all that she wanted. And she wanted to have her hair dyed as well. But you can't really put that under the Christmas tree. So those Root pants were pretty important because they were the only thing she asked for. And Liv asked for fancy Sephora makeup, which I don't even use. Like I use drugstore makeup, so to go in Sephora and buy expensive makeup was very strange for me. So she got a couple of items from Sephora as well. So I really wanted to capture this turning point in my kids' history of Christmases. But also, I didn't want it to seem strange when I pulled out the camera when they opened the present that was the trip to Cuba, because I did want to capture their reactions to that. The ironic part of this story is that I was taking pictures of these presents so that I wouldn't seem strange when I took pictures of the Cuba present. But I forgot to pull out my camera. I was just so excited that or my phone, I just wanted to see them open it and react to it. So I didn't even remember to pull out my phone. So what this says is, oh, right. It says, I'm sure they're excited about the sweaters, ... on the inside. Because this photo of them in their SMU sweaters, SMU is the university that I went to for my undergrad, and it's our local, like one of our many local universities. Our city is famous for having multiple universities. We have more universities per capita than any other city on earth. And we also have more bars per capita than any other city on earth. And I think those two things are related. So now I'm just going to decorate this up. I put the presents die cut right there because, you know, this is the page about opening presents. And this one was tricky to decorate. It was kind of like I didn't really want to emphasize presents. It's not really what Christmas is all about for me. So it was hard for me to figure out how to decorate this. And we've been putting candy canes so that they make a heart on things this year. Like that was what we did to some of our gifts. So I wanted to use these 2 candy cane puffy stickers in the shape of a heart. So I just tucked it in there. It looked weird on the 25th. I felt like it needed something over here, but then I couldn't figure out what worked, so I didn't put anything, but I will on my next video where I do the final touches. I'll add a little something there. And then that puffy sticker up above Sophie's head just says Christmas morning. And now I'm realizing that I'm going to have to shuffle around my pockets, but I guess I'll do that later. I thought I did it now, but I guess I did it later. So now I have these photos of tapas, and I had literally just received a comment on YouTube from my last process video, which would have been December documented part 3. And somebody had left this wonderful little comment that talked about those horrible little 2x2 inch pockets. And she said that she always cuts it down so that it's just 2 pockets wide. And I literally just received that message on my phone. And I had these 3 pictures of tapas to scrap. So I'm thinking about how am I going to do this, and I thought I'm going to do exactly what she said. I'm going to cut down that page protector. But in the meantime, I have this sticker, which seems really important to me to put on. It says Christmas Eve, and it's green, so it brings some green into this page, and I'm sorry that you can't see it, but it was a page that had only blue. It was a picture of the sky. And so that added some green to that, and it says Christmas Eve, and it was on Christmas Eve. And here I am shuffling around these pages. So I had to make room for my work party at another place in the album. And then I had to put my Christmas Day photos in the place where I had originally intended them to go. But that meant that I had to add a whole page protector there, which means I now have 2 more gaps. 2 more, like the back side of my work party now has 2 4x6 pockets that are empty. And I could do a couple of things with that. I could just put pattern paper. I could put some journaling cards. There's a lot of different things that I could do there. I'm just going to leave it and think about it as I do this. More horrible 2x2 squares. But they're not so horrible when there's only 8 of them instead of 12 or however many there normally are. Yeah, 12. So I'm cutting out, I am so in the groove here that I forgot to zoom out my camera, so my apologies for that. I have to cut down these photos because I wasn't intending to put them in 2x2 pockets. So they are cut at 2x2, but my printer prints everything slightly bigger. And then once you put a border on it, it's really, those pictures are way too big to fit in those pockets. So I'm cutting them down to 2x2. And I'm also going to cut the page protector. I cut a little square out of one of those little craft envelopes that came with the kit, and now I'm just cutting down the page protector so that it's 2x4, like 2 cells wide by 4 cells vertically. And then I can do this checkerboard kind of effect with things in every other pocket, and then in the other pockets I'm going to put some sequins because that looked so nice earlier in this project. I thought I would revisit the idea. Now the kit, the Documenting December or December Documented kit, comes with a pocket, a very generous pocket with lots and lots of sequins that coordinate quite nicely with the kit. So it has turquoises and beige, like something that kind of matches with the craft colors in the kit, and pinks and greens and reds and oranges and all sorts of colors that coordinate with the kit. So, but I'm not going to use those. First, I am spelling out tapas. I didn't have enough A's, so I just used a V and cut off a little piece of another letter to make the cross inside of the A. And I put a hyphen. You don't really need a hyphen, but I just put one because I wanted to. And I'm just squeezing that title of tapas into that tiny, tiny little 2x2 inch square made out of craft paper from the bag. And I thought I was going to use that red puffy sticker heart from the letter stickers that came in the kit. But I decided to switch it out with this button, this wooden button that also came in the kit. I like it. I'm just pulling off the foam and using a glue dot instead. I like the button because it introduces green to this cell, which would have otherwise just had craft and red. So I like that. And that A is not going to stick very well. Eventually, I don't know if I do it on camera or off camera, but eventually I am going to, so there's the sequins that come in the kit. I'm going to glue those down with my Stampin' Up! Glue pen, which is a much stronger glue, so it will stay put. Now here is that assortment of sequins. And so what I'm doing here is I can't figure out why my fuse tool is not working. It's not plugged in. I don't know how, and I'm afraid to touch it because I don't want to burn myself. I have this like irrational fear of burning myself that I don't even want to come close to touching it. So I just keep going back and forth, and it's not melting. And as I'm doing that, I'm thinking, I have never had trouble with my fuse before. Like other people have said that their fuse doesn't work right, and mine has always worked right. So here I'm going really slow. And gee, Tracy, if you would just like even put your hand close to the shaft, you would know that it's not all that. It felt a little warm to me, but it must have been just my mind sending that signal because I was expecting it to be warm because it was not plugged in at all. So I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to let it warm up more. Meanwhile, I went over to my stash and I grabbed my own sequins. The reason I did this is that these photos feature prominently reds and greens and golds, kind of like beigey colors. So I've already got that craft title and lettering and stuff that's beige, like that crafty color and red and green. And I really want to stick with that theme, like that color scheme of red and green and a neutral color. So I have all of these sequins, which I ordered from various sellers on eBay. I can't even tell you the seller because different sellers offer different sizes and shades. And I just bought a whole bunch of them because I was really into sequin mixes and they were really expensive and I did not want to. I'm like, wait a minute, this is still not working. So I can't remember if I remember. I must have plugged it in now. Yeah, I must have plugged it in because I wouldn't be moving on to the second pocket if that first pocket wasn't sealed. So at some point I realized that the fuse tool wasn't plugged in, and once it was, it worked beautifully and perfectly. So what I'm putting in here are sequins from my own stash of reds and greens in 2 different sizes, and then tiny little sequins that are a really super sparkly, iridescent white. And they're so sparkly and so pretty. And it's always, they come from China, and I can never tell what exactly it is that I'm ordering. Like, it says how many millimeters it is and whether they're flat or oval. And I never know exactly what, like a 4 millimeter versus a 6 millimeter, like what it is. So I just ordered a whole bunch of different ones, and I thought I'll be happy with whatever I get. And I was. And I got more than just these Christmassy colors. I got a whole bunch of them because I was going to buy some sequins mixes for some shaker cards I was making for teachers last year. And the amount I was spending on these sequins mixes, I just thought I could probably go to the source and just buy a whole bunch, and then I'll probably end up having a lot more than I need, but then I'll just always have them on hand for a future. So that's what I did. I feel like I might have not completed a thought there because I know I keep interrupting myself. I have ADHD, and I often do that. If you follow my channel, you probably know that I can go off on tangents sometimes and never come back to my original thought. So if you had a question about something I was saying that I didn't complete my sentence, just go ahead and ask, and I'll answer in the comments below. So here we are. We have all of these pockets filled with beautiful sparkly sequins. I had no idea how beautiful these pockets would look. They gradually got more and more stuffed as I went on this down the page because I was just loving how it looked so much. I just kept adding and adding and adding. So I think that's okay. It looks cool like that. There's more space in the top two and less space in the bottom two. So on the back side of this, I have these two photos from my sister-in-law's little get-together that she hosted just with my own family and her boyfriend. And so this is his first appearance in any of my scrapbooks. So I wanted to make sure that I got the picture that included him in this project. And we inadvertently, it ended up being a Survivor-themed night. It wasn't meant to be, but she had bought him a Survivor board game for Christmas. It's a really old game from the very first season of Survivor. And then when we got there, she was watching the finale of Survivor. And my family just started watching Survivor as a family this year. But we started it like not too long ago, and we marathon watched it, and we had watched the finale, but not the part that came after the finale. So we basically just saw who won, and then we didn't watch the rest of it. So they were almost at the point that we were at anyway. So it worked out really well. So many things just came together this holiday season to work out. It's really unbelievable. This holiday season was so much better than last year. Last year was exceptionally bland for me. There was nothing really horrible about it. It wasn't all that bad, but it was just kind of like a not very memorable holiday season. And this one was filled with really rich, wonderful memories. So what happened there was I didn't have any S's left in my Kelly Perky letter set that I've been using all along in this project. So I had to do a last minute switcheroo. This is a much darker color of red than what I would have liked to have used on this page because the photos are already quite dark, and I would like to have the title here kind of brighten things up a little bit. But this is, I think it might be, I see the label. It's from Fancy Pants. And it is a Christmas collection. I don't know which one, though. So after all that work of using my thicker alignment tool here, the letters weren't on it far enough. Like, the letters were too far on it. There wasn't enough sticking off to actually stick to my page. But that's okay. I'm just using my fingernails to move the letters around so that I can spell out Survivor. So it says Survivor, and I just have to go back and get the dot for the I. And how cool was it that, like, we could have played any board game, but we decided to play the Survivor board game because they had just gotten it for Christmas, or her boyfriend had just gotten it for Christmas. And it's always nice to use a new game, although it's actually quite an old game. And we were pretty impressed. It was a fun game. We weren't sure how it would go, but it was pretty fun. So it says, after a day of Boxing Day shopping, we spent the evening with Jen and Adam. We watched the Survivor finale and played the game. And now I have this top pocket that I'm going to mostly do embellishing on. And I also want to write Jen's house. So because, you know, this was at Jen's house and Jen's only been in her house for a couple of years. So I wanted to definitely use the house sticker here. And I'm looking for some letter stickers, and I'm thinking I'm not going to be able to find letter stickers that are small enough to spell house beside the word house there. So I'm just going to use my own handwriting. I'm spelling out Jen's, and I'm just going over it really heavy, kind of like over and over again to thicken up the lines and make it bold. And then wherever the white dots are on that bag, my pen doesn't stick as well. So I just went back with my Lumocolor pen by Stettler, which is a slick surface writer, and just thickened up those lines on the white spots. Here I go with my Stampin' Up! Glue pen to stick these little letters that keep trying to escape. And that will keep them in place for good because that's a really strong glue. So there we go. This one is done, and you're right. It is much easier and more enjoyable to do it when it's only 2 cells by 4 cells instead of the full page. And it ends up looking really nice too. So now this one keeps shifting. I purposely made the pocket so that it floats around, but then it ended up annoying me. So I put a little paper clip on, or a little clamp on that pocket to keep it in place. And now I'm just putting my gold number stickers to indicate the date, the 27th and the 25th for those two. So I'm pretty pleased with my project the way it is right now. I feel like I have definitely captured every memory that I absolutely wanted to capture. So if I were to stop right now, I could. I do have 2 empty pockets midway through the project, which is basically the back sides of my work party. If I was feeling uninspired, I could pretty easily just slip anything in there, like even just pattern paper or something. So I'm going to, in regular speed, just show you how the book looks so far. There will be one more process video that shows the finishing touches up until today, which is December 31st. And then there will be a very short video showing how I document New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and then a walkthrough of the whole thing. So this is how it looks so far. It really feels good to flip through the pages. And so these are pages that I did today, cards that I did today. Not the Snapchat Joy, but the other 3. And now these ones I will have to come back to. And I could put pattern paper in there, or I'm just kind of thinking about what I might want to do. I have a couple more stories that I want to tell to just kind of richen up this project a little bit. This was a particularly positive holiday season, and so I have a couple of stories that I just want to dive in a little bit deeper. So I did that one today as well. I mean, in this video. And then those ones, of course, for the 25th, and then this last page as well. Oh, I really love how that turns out. Those sequins are so sparkly. They're really sparkly in the video, but in real life, they're really dazzling. They're awesome. So I wanted to thank you all for watching this video and supporting me here on YouTube by watching and commenting and liking, and also give special thanks to these diamond tiaras who support me over on Patreon. Thank you so much. It makes it possible for me to bring you guys even more content. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe by clicking the button in the middle of your screen, and check out my other videos that pop up on this screen as well. And check me out on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and all the other places as MercyTiara. I hope you all have a really great scrappy week.